mahungu uyani tamani wapumbaba ina tamani ile hamsi wapumba ila kumia mahungu la uyani tamani wapumbaba ina walala 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 uyani tamani wapumbaba ina walala 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 uyani tamani wapumbaba ina 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 tamani ile haki wapumba ina wakumia mahungu uyani tamani wapumbaba ina tamani ile haki wapumba ina wakumia mahungu la uyani tamani wapumbaba ina walala 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 walala
Good morning. Welcome to Avon Valley Church's Thought for the Day. Today is Thursday, March 25th, 2021. My name is Andrea and I live in Winchester, Virginia. I've traveled to Southern Africa multiple times over the past 15 years, and during that time I have developed deep friendships with two people who have been the most influential people in my life of missions. So this morning, I'd like to tell you a little bit about them and how forming relationships is at the core of mission work. On my first trip to Mozambique, I met a gentleman named Amadu. Amadu was a recent graduate of Africa University in Mutare, Zimbabwe, and as a way of earning money, he had the assignment of being the lead translator for different mission teams while they were traveling to Mozambique during the busy travel seasons. He is fluent in English and a few other languages. He is also the nephew of, at the time, the Bishop of the United Methodist Church of Mozambique. Amadu is tall with a slim but solid build and has this loud, boisterous personality with an infectious laugh. At our first meeting at the airport in Maputo, he welcomed us with this beaming smile and open arms. Amadu was with us day in and day out for almost 3 weeks, and during that time we all developed this bond with him as he protected us and kept us safe. He followed us to the hospital in the middle of the night if we had been called in for emergencies, often translating between multiple conversations going on at the same time. He taught us many Mozambican hymns after dinner in the guest house, and we rehearsed those songs for church on Sunday. And he enjoyed himself immensely at our expense, since we were vocally challenged by Mozambican standards, and our dance skills left a lot to be desired. He also shared with us many stories of growing up in a country torn apart by civil war. At the end of our time in Shikuki, we had made the long journey back down to Maputo and shared an emotional farewell. We stood in a circle, held hands, and sang our final song. After we parted, we felt this void that we really couldn't describe. Amadu had become our family, and we didn't know if or when we would ever see him again. All of the mission work we were involved in was because of the relationship between the Virginia Conference of the United Methodist Church and the United Methodist Church of Mozambique. Amadu's undergraduate degree is in education, and he had a dream to pursue his master's in education at some point, but he wasn't sure how or when that would happen. The following year, when we returned back to Mozambique, we were reunited with Amadu, and we were overjoyed to see him again. But at the end of our time in the village where we worked, we didn't have to say farewell because this time we brought him back with us. During the year between trips, the Virginia Conference had arranged, with the help from Shenandoah University, it's a local Methodist college here in Winchester, to bring Amadou to Virginia so he could earn his master's in education with the hopes of returning to Mozambique to strengthen the schools and educate young adults in his own village. Amadou was here for 2 years, and after much celebrating at graduation, we returned to Mozambique, taking Amadou back home. In September of 2019, Amadou came back to Winchester to pursue his doctorate in education. But this time, he wasn't alone. He brought with him his wife Ivoni and their 2 very young children, Charlene and Daniel. The plan was for Amadou to work for a few hours during the week with a student visa while attending classes, while Ivoni learned English, learned how to drive, and volunteer in the church office. The first semester things seemed to be going very well, but then the pandemic drastically changed their plans. Thankfully, Ivoni earned her driver's license just before lockdown and very quickly became proficient in English. Amadou is studying from home, a vacant parsonage donated to them during their stay, while Ivoni is also teaching the children from home. They will be here for the next few years while Amadou completes his degree, also attending different churches virtually to share his story. I am always learning from Amadou and thankful every day for being able to call him my brother. The second person I'd like to tell you about is Arlindo. I first met Arlindo, a slight, quiet, and soft-spoken gentleman, also on my first trip to Mozambique. It was our first morning after arriving the previous night. 10 of us coming down the stairs for breakfast of this guest house in a way only Americans can do best, in a boisterous manner, assuming we had the whole house to ourselves. We were very surprised to see we weren't alone. A quiet gentleman was sitting at the dining table by himself. My ravenous teammates loudly gathered around the table, completely dismissing his presence. He quietly gathered his plate and took it into the living room. I am not patting myself on the back, but what I witnessed, it really bothered me, and I felt like I had to do something. I was embarrassed by the behavior of my teammates, and I walked up to this gentleman, and I asked him to take his place at the table where he had been sitting. He was very gracious, and I was humbled. I sat beside him at the dinner table and introduced myself, and he gently shook my hand and introduced himself. His name is Arlindo, and he's a public health officer and a United Methodist minister. He is from Maputo, the capital, and was brought to Shikuki to build and establish the Center of Hope, a branch of Shikuki Rural Methodist Hospital which diagnoses, educates, and treats patients with infectious diseases such as HIV, AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, and often waterborne diseases. After eating breakfast together every morning, we would go our own way. I'd go to the hospital, and he would go down the sandy lane to the Center of Hope. After a few days, he invited me and some of the team to take a tour of the center, and I immediately accepted his invitation. He shared with me his dreams for the people of the small but growing village. At the time, he wanted greater technology. He dreamed for the locals to be able to learn from him and for the center to grow. During every visit, we would see changes and growth, with help from not only the Virginia Conference, but other conferences across the states. Mobile clinics had been established, and technology has been improved. Although right now, because of COVID, those mobile clinics have sadly closed, and people often don't have access to the health care, often walking for miles to get to the hospital. I keep in touch with Arlindo, who is one of my dearest friends, and from whom I am constantly learning. Arlindo is now the director of Shikuki Hospital. I have been concerned about him, his family, and the state of the hospital during this pandemic. Many hospital staff members have been infected, and Shikuki does not have a COVID ward. Only a small space in which the highly suspected COVID cases are waiting for the ambulance to take them to a larger village to the treatment center. Shikuki does not have a COVID testing available, but they have finally received the vaccine within the past several weeks, all reserved for healthcare workers to start. When there is a suspected case, the specimen is sent to Maputo, 8 hours along bumpy and tired roads. They wait about a week or two for the results. Sometimes the positive results comes after the person has recovered. Sometimes the positive results come after the person has died. And in many cases, the result comes stating they are negative while the person has now been infected. I am always keeping my friends from Mozambique in my prayers and always dreaming when we will be reunited. Relationships are crucial to the human experience. We must relate to others or we will live a life void of spirituality. We can exist without meaningful relationships, but we won't thrive. And I honestly believe the work being done in Mozambique and in other places across the globe has thrived because of human contact and relationships. It's not all about the work, and it's not all about us helping them. We learn from each other, and being involved with missions has given me a greater understanding of the world in which we live, and I hope to be a part of mission work for the rest of my life. Let us close with a prayer. Lord, teach us what it means to love the stranger as we love ourselves. Teach us to love and care for the stranger the way you do, and help me share your generosity and love with those I meet. Amen. Thank you for tuning in this morning, and please tune in tomorrow for another thought for the day. Goodbye, and God bless.